Hello, Alpha Female family. I just want to say thank you for joining us in this leadership series. I think when I did speak about the series, I spoke about it from a sense of it being a form of love letters. Leadership affects all of us in any role that you're doing, even if you are just a stay at home mom, you are a leader of your household. So it really is a topic that affects us in one way or another. And I think the series, for me personally, was so important so that we're able to showcase that leadership can be different for all of us and that we can show up in not so, what can I say, like rigid ways, right? We can morph ourselves into different things and we can truly show up at the workplace like our authentic selves. When we started the series, we started it off with talking about the art subtle of leadership with someone who's actually an introvert in a world where we celebrate extroverts, we celebrate people that are more outspoken and out there and kind of forgets the quiet influence that can come with someone who's a bit more reserved. So Slindile took us through that, and through her, she shared her lessons and lived experiences of how it is like to lead as an extrovert. The second episode, we spoke about leading with the heart, right? And I think when you think about that title, you actually wonder, what does it actually mean? But we spoke about what it means to actually lead with empathy, with care, understanding people, and what the challenges are when you actually do lead with empathy and care. And Ompile helped us unpack that so beautifully. I think one of the things she said was, you don't have to be someone that you are not. You can actually be soft and hard at the same time. You can be the soft leader who's caring, but you can also hold people accountable to get the outcomes that you actually want. So that was such an impactful episode. We then spoke about personal mastery, but not personal mastery as we know it, but as the new leadership currency in the world that we live in, which is so disruptive and ever changing. In a world where technology, changes all the time, there's AI, there is all sorts of things, but what stays true is being human. And I loved talking to Ketiwe about how one can master themselves in order to master others. And I think she's shared so many ills in our society when it comes to leadership and so many things that we see in the environments that we're in and how we can be better and so that we create other leaders from where we are. And we nicely wrapped up the series with Priscilla, who not only shared her personal experiences in leadership ever so honestly, but also answered a few questions that our listeners had. So we spoke about what it means if you don't want to be a manager and a leader. And I think it's a conversation that we don't have enough. We spoke about what to do when you have a leader that is not for you but against you. We spoke about her personal experiences. I mean, one of her highlights in leadership was someone that was fairly challenging culturally, by gender, and she learned so much and grew so much from that experience, which she shared with us. I think amongst all of our guests, I kept on asking them, what is your leadership style? And I think all of them have echoed the same thing, which is leading with care, leading with kindness, leading, considering people, but still very being intentional about driving outcomes. If anything, I think it shows us that naturally as women, we can be soft. We can also be hard. It is important to know how to use these and how to flex your style to suit your environment, but also be able to inspire your people, to also be able to drive the outcomes that you need to for your organization. I did say this was a series of love letters. I think the first one spoke to that girl who's an introvert who feels like leadership is not for her. and also speaks to someone who's actually fine, not being a leader and wants to be a specialist. The second one is a love letter to perhaps a leader that had to morph themselves into something that they're not, so that they're seen as successful, seen as hard and, one of the boys, but also to someone who naturally possesses qualities just such as care and empathy, and them understanding how these can be advantages but also can be a disadvantage if you don't know how to strike the right balance. And what I also liked about that episode is that it highlighted the responsibility that we have as employees, as people who have great leaders, to actually do our part and deliver the work and work hard, so that we do make that leader look good ultimately. And I think the fourth one is a love letter to someone who has been broken down by a leader, someone who has been torn down by a leader. So a victim who maybe can heal from that episode and start understanding that whatever they were going through was not because of them, but the situation, the system, and maybe the person that they were subjected to. And then the second bit of that episode is a love letter to a leader that had lost themselves as well. And it is an invitation for all of us, leader or not, to work on ourselves and to work on ourselves with intention. The last one is a love letter to everyone. Firstly, the people that have written in, but understanding that actually there's power in scalability. And sometimes we have questions that we don't ask openly, but there's someone going through the very same thing that you are going through. And through that, I hope you found relatability and you found the answers that you were looking for. All in all, I think this is a massive love letter to everyone to remind us how important leadership is and how much responsibility you have as a leader. As a leader, you shape the culture, you shape someone's career, you also shape your own life and journey. And so, as people look up to you, I hope you do the work that is required to be the best version of yourself so that you can lead others to their best versions of themselves. Thank you so much. Till next time.